I do a lot of counseling, right? And so I've heard a lot of stories from men and women around the world. Some of the situations are different, but the cause of the situations are the same. The causes are the same. And this is what all kind of religious people too, different religion people, it is all the same. And I noticed that the world has changed in such a drastic way. And when I say the world, the people have changed in such a drastic way. But it's always been in the making, but we just didn't see it. But we knew something was going on, but not the depths of what's happening. I noticed that the way that men and women were taught to treat one another in the past has totally changed. It's not the same anymore. And because of that, the world is turned upside down, and it is a mess. It's a mess. And men and women, boys and girls, are being taught in the wrong way. They're not being taught about love, real love. They're not being taught how to treat one another. They are not being taught how to live a life. They are not being taught how to, if they should get married, how and why and how to deal with that. And it's nothing but hell now. It's nothing but hell. Rarely, very rarely, it's like finding a needle in a haystack. Can you find or run into or meet anyone that has perfect peace today? Whether it's a Bible thumper or non-Bible thumper, whether it's an intellectual or non-intellectual, it's rare now to run into anyone that has perfect peace. It is happening because there are men and women who are starting to hear how to receive perfect peace in life, and they are coming to that. But in the good old days, when boys were boys and men were men, and girls were girls and women were women, that was being taught in the homes by examples. And in the schools, too, by example. Remember in school when you used to say Mrs. Bullard or Mr. Roberts or yes, sir, or yes, ma'am? That's unheard of now. Remember when the teachers used to dress like adults in the schools and not like sluts and slut makers and like they were going to some sex party and all that crap and just wearing jeans they were not wearing jeans with holes in the pants. Matter of fact, they didn't wear jeans at all. When we were growing up, women didn't wear pants to school as teachers. Remember those good old days? Grandpa, tell me about the good old days. Remember when in churches, the people were not Bible thumpers? They in those generations, for the most part, exception to the rule, they lived by examples. Remember when men knew that they were the salt of the earth and the light of the world, and so they led the way, not follow, but led, not follow. They would not follow a group. They were not doing those crazy things like that. They were individual thinkers. That's unheard of now. It's literally unheard of. And if you should mention it, most people are like, what are you talking about? I have to be a part of identify with a group. I have to have a bunch of friends. I have to have this and that. Otherwise, who will I be? They say. I am so grateful that I grew up in the time that I grew up. Otherwise, I wouldn't know the difference between then and now, and I'll be caught up with the crowd, acting like the crowd. and not myself. You know, I would be probably still living at home with mama. There are grown adult men past 18 years of age living at home with mama. And mama, in most cases, not all, but most cases have convinced them, you stay home, baby, they say, and save your money. Save money so that you can go and get your place or whatever they say, right? And you end up staying home until you're over 60 years old. Once I was 60 years old, my mama told me, boy, you better get yourself a wife or you gonna be lonely. When I was growing up, exceptions to the rule, but at 18, you gotta go. We're teaching you to work. We're teaching you how to take care of yourself. They didn't even tell you got to go to college. That was a dumb idea, college. It was to get a job. Your career is a job, and especially if you had a trade. They would teach us from whatever age we can work until 18 how to take care of ourselves, especially the boys, because they would go and prepare life in case they wanted to start a family. And the girls wasn't pushed as much to leave home because they were waiting for their husbands. And the husband would come and get them. That's gone now. It's so not in existence now that for this generation and the generation after this and after that to hear it, it sounds like a foreign language. What are you talking about, they say? I would urge you to pull away from the crowd, become an individual, get to know yourself. Otherwise, you're not going to survive mentally and emotionally. You're not going to survive the things to come. The human heart is evil. The human heart is wicked. And the only way you're going to change the world, you got to change the hearts. It's not going to change until that happens. And that ain't happening anytime soon. But your heart can change, and you can have an amazing life in spite of all the hell that's going on around you. You can have perfect peace right here on earth. There is a God, and there is a devil. And everyone who has anger is of their father, the devil, and they have fear. They do not have perfect love. They're afraid of other people. They're afraid of themselves within. According to Matthew 5, this is Bible Thumping Thursday, you are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. Where's the light? Where's the salt? There's no salt of the earth anymore. A few. Some are waking up and they're seeing it. There's no light in the world today, for the most part. Be honest with yourself, even if you don't say it out loud to anyone else, and you have a right not to. But be honest with yourself. Are you the light of the world, or are you the darkness of the world? Everyone who has anger, you are the darkness of the world. You're the darkness, and there is no light. And the way to know that you're the darkness of the world, check your anger and your fears. Everyone who has anger has fear, and you're the darkness of the earth. There's no light in darkness. Every day, I talk to men, young and old, of all races, that who does not know how to deal with women in a proper way. Women need you to deal with them in a proper way, because you're the light of, supposed to be the light of the world, but even though you're the salt, you're blind and you're not the light. They look to you to be the light so they can follow. But because you're not the light, you're following them, following the darkness. And it's nothing but hell. Men are so miserable today because they're following a woman. And the way the mothers are treating them is mind-blowing. Do you know that mothers, not all, but most, if a guy is with a woman and they're either living together or married, and the mother and his woman, wife or living girlfriend, are having situations, tough times, the mother would join forces with the woman. The mother of the guy would join forces with his woman that he's having problem with if the guy's not listening to the mama. And even when he listened to her, she still joined forces with him. And especially if they have children, the mother was sneak behind the man's back. In some cases, she don't sneak, and work against him, her own son, to get glory for herself. So I want to give you some rules on how to deal with women in the proper way. And ladies, you cannot rely on the man to guide you now. They don't have it. So you're going to have to go straight to the Father too. And you can. By forgiving, getting to know yourself, forgiving your mothers and grandmothers in a lot of cases for turning away from your fathers, turn back to your fathers. And women, ladies, y'all can have perfect peace. And if you are married, and some women are, or living with a guy, and some women are, and you see that this guy is not overcoming anything he can't see, don't resent him so that you can go around him, through him, straight to the Father. But if you resent him for being weak, and all women do until they wake up, you're not going to be able to go to God, to the Father. So if you're already with a weak man, don't resent him. All right? Drop the anger. He can't help it just as you can't help it. The same thing your mother done to you, she did it to him. And most men are not working on overcoming being born of the spirit of the father. They're stuck in the spirit of the mother, which is evil. And it's not her spirit. It's not your spirit, ladies. It's the spirit of evil that was passed down through Eve when Satan became her God. And that's why the God of the woman is below and the God of the man is above. But you can return, ladies, to the God above. And man, you can return too, but you got to overcome the God of the woman. The woman is your God. Because Adam listened to the woman. Every time you listen to the woman, you will suffer. And men are suffering because they're listening to women. So what my producer laid out so amazingly, I couldn't believe it. So I'm like, what the? How to deal with women in the proper way. I would suggest that you write this down and pin it somewhere on the wall so you can remind yourself until you no longer need to remind yourself. But the Spirit of the Father will remind you of all things. We have a teacher within. When I think about some of the things that the Christian men and women believe, it's mind-blowing, but I understand it. I'm not judging them. I understand it. For an example, they believe that you have a free will, but yet they can't will themselves to have perfect peace. And they don't question, okay, if I have a free will, why don't I will myself not to be afraid again? Why don't I will myself to have perfect love? Why don't I will myself to overcome jealousy and envy and strife and loneliness and gossiping? If you had a free will, why don't you will yourself to do that? But you can't do it. So anyway, I want to get this out there, how to deal with women in a proper way. You can write this down, pin it on the wall, or somewhere. As Matthew 5 says, you are the salt of the earth and the light of the world. There's an order to life. God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman, and if there are children, woman over children, but it's coming from above, not from below. Love comes from above, not from below. And there's no love because the light and the salt is not in operation in most people. 99 point whatever people. I see dead people. So how to deal with women in the proper way? Number one, men, don't live at home past 18 years of age. Don't live at home past 18 years of age. Go out, get a job, and deal with the issues of life. And in dealing with the issues of life, you will grow into manhood. The Spirit of the Father will cause you to grow in the spirit of the light by dealing with the issues of life. When I left home at 18 from Alabama, I didn't know what was going to happen in life. I didn't know, I had no idea, but I knew how to work because I had been by example and working all my life. And I didn't see work as a bad thing at all, but I knew how to work. And I knew as long as I could work, I'll have food and a place to live. And sometimes it wasn't the best places because the jobs were like, they were not like paying buku money, but it provided, and I was quite satisfied with that. Not even thinking about it being a bad situation. I remember once, and I mentioned this story before, when I moved to L.A., I lived in I had to stay in a motel for a minute. I had a job, but I had to stay in a motel. It was cheaper. And this motel had roaches everywhere. I'm pretty sure I had roaches for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They were everywhere. But for some reason, I wasn't complaining about it. I just saw that, hey, there are roaches in this place.
What the?
And I was like in my early 20s. But I went to work every day. I paid my motel rent. And eventually I was able to move out. Just taking on situation after situation after situation. And not once did I cry for mama, or I was thinking, this is so hard, I got to go back home. It looked like that may have crossed my mind once, I think, but it wasn't going to happen. Don't live at home. Don't let your mama convince you that you need to stay home. Or even if you decide because you've been made to believe you need to go to college, which is another lie, they tell you go to college. If they have already convinced you need to go to college and you decide to go or you're already there, work your way through college. I went to LACC for 1 year because I wanted to get a white girl. I heard some of these different stories about white girls, and I wanted to get one. And they said you could get them in college. So I went to LACC, Los Angeles City College, for 1 year so I could get a white girl. Once I got it, I dropped out. But I still worked. Nobody was paying for that but me. So, guys, go and live your life. Get out from under mama's skirt tail, or you're going to be stuck there. Don't live at home after 18 years of age. Watch this from CNN and Fox. This is interesting.
How come you still live with your parents?
Rent is expensive.
And why do you think more young people like yourselves are staying at home longer?
They need to be able to save money to afford their own homes.
I think the reason why is obviously it helps them save money.
Turns out a record number of young adults in the U.S. are still living at home. The U.S. Census Bureau shows nearly half of Gen Zers between the ages of 18 and 29 are still living with their parents. Numbers like this haven't been seen since the Great Depression in the 1940s.
I don't think it's just financial. I also think it's emotional. I think more young people, and that means young adults as well, up to 25, are feeling more emotionally fragile than ever before in history. One thing that I think is happening is that we're forcing kids to move very far away from us as a sign of success. We call it successful if they live far away when they're going to college and right after. And I think we need to redefine that, because I think some kids are capable of being independent in that way geographically, and then others need support for longer.
Why don't you just move out of your parents' house, like tomorrow?
I don't have the means to do that tomorrow.
Okay.
So,
do you have a job?
No.
Wow. Man, that's not natural. I never thought I would live to hear men say, I'm staying home to save money or apartment too expensive. It used to be the other way around when women would be thinking that way. And any parent that is allowing you to stay home at that age, they don't love you. They hate you. They don't love you at all. How will you ever grow if you're not out lifting the weights? The situations of life. How? That man 30 years old and doesn't have a job. That would not have happened in the good old days. A mother's love will kill you, your spirit. And don't let them convince you of that, guys. You're going to see if you're out working away from mama, away from home, you start dealing with life. It'll happen naturally. It's already in you to know how to deal with life. It's not going to happen under mama's skirt tail. And mama and the father who are weak in allowing this to happen, the fathers that are weak, they are destroying you. She is recreating you in her image, inside and out. That is not love, that's hate. How will the world last in a good way if men don't lead? And once again, men, you have no business at all living at home past 18 years of age talking about I'm saving money. Your mother convinced you of that. Life is more than just saving money. Life is living. It's living it. Life is like a full living life. You need a change of mind. Your mind has been put in a way where you're thinking like children, like a child, and not a grown-up. Your body is a grown-up body somewhat, but you're thinking like a child. 1 Corinthians 13:11 says, when I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I gave up childish ways. Living at home with mama. You're not a child. And don't let mama treat you like a child, because she is using you to get a fake sense of life, to feel good about herself, and she still doesn't feel good about, I'm mom. This is mom. This is my baby. You're a grown man. And don't be afraid to face and forgive your mothers or grandmothers or both. Watch this from Perfect Teeth. Amazing.
Growing up, my mom was always very stern in the way that she raised me. As I got older, I started to challenge her more and more. One specific time that I was swimming in the pool out back, and my little brother and I did not want to get out. So my mom comes outside, she's like, boys, it's time to get out. She's like fully clothed. Daniel and I look at each other and we're like, no, we don't want to get out. So she started counting. She was like, boys, I told you to get out. I was like, no. And she was like, okay, 1. 3 came, and in our heads, it was like we were in the pool and she didn't want to just get wet. So we thought we were golden. I underestimated my mom. When I tell you, this woman jumped in the water fully clothed as if she was a lioness and I was her prey. It was terrifying. She jumped in and pulled us out by our hair. That's like one of her proudest moments as a mom too. Like, she still talks about it to this day. After that, I stopped really messing around with her though. You know, I started to take her words a little bit more seriously. Like, if she's willing to get fully wet just for me to get out of the pool, like, who even knows what she's gonna do when I'm not in a pool?
Wow. What an evil woman, right? She changed that boy's spirit to her spirit by making him angry at her. And once you become angry, you become like what you hate. That's pretty sad, you see that. That destruction is coming through mama. You must forgive her. And when you forgive her, God will forgive you. That's an awful story. And I'm sure she feels all proud of herself. Oh, I did the right thing. She messed him up. You can see it in his spirit. This is why you need fathers in the home, so that when it's time to punish the child, it comes from the father, not the mother. The father would do it with perfect love, unless he has not overcome his mother's spirit. But the mother is not going to punish or discipline the child with perfect love. The love she has is hate, evil, and it would destroy the children, boys and girls. It would do that. It would change your spirit from the light to the darkness. But the way to overcome that, you got to forgive them. Hey, mother, I'm sorry for resenting you. You were evil, but I understand you can help it. Face and forgive. 1 Corinthians 16:13 says, be watchful, stand firm in the faith, act like men. Act like men, be strong. You got to be strong. And one of the ways of being strong amongst the many, stop spending your money on women. If you go out to dinner, you don't have to go and spend hundreds of dollars for a dinner. And if she doesn't like it, tell her bye. Okay, bye. Stop buying her clothes and trips and paying her rent and her apartment and houses and all. She hates you for that. And you hate yourself for doing it. Be watchful. Stand firm. Act like men. Be strong. So 3, don't spend your money on females. Watch this from Bando's TV. Amazing.
I bring the check. I'm paying for my meal and your meal. I'm not paying for your kids' meal. No.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not paying for their kids' meal. No.
So you don't think you owe me after having me wait an hour and a half?
I told you I owe you. I owe you when I take you out again.
And so you're gonna pay for my kids' food?
No, I'm not doing that.
Can you please go ahead and
I'm not doing that. No. Hold up, beautiful. Hold on. Don't do that. But I'm saying, why would I get her kids food? Why would I get her kids some food? They with their daddy.
She was right here.
They daddy should be feeding them.
She was waiting.
You say you ordered a steak for your son. How old is he?
He ate.
He ate eating steak. He eating the same thing I eat. Nah, hell no. I'm straight. I'm cool. Don't put that on my bill.
Give him
Don't put that on me.
Make sure you put a side of A1 sauce as well. He paying for all of this today.
I'm not paying for all that. No, I'm not paying for all that.
Yes, you are.
She's trying to put a bill on me and to make my kids. I'm late to the date. She's trying to make me get some food for her and her kids.
What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that?
You late.
It's my first date. I ain't even met the kids yet. I'm late. I gotta buy them steak. She said steak and 2 chicken tenders.
What's wrong with that?
Come on, y'all. Y'all ain't on my side. Ain't nobody on my side, man.
Wow. The moment that she started giving him attitude like that and telling him that, I would have said, you know what? I'm not paying for yours either. Bye. I'll pay for my meal and out. Go up front, pay for your meal, and be gone. You shouldn't let women talk to you like that. They're talking down on you. And they have no respect for you at all. How you going to tell a man to pay for somebody else's child meal? This is why you shouldn't be dating women who already have children or marrying them. It's nothing but trouble. I'm going to move a little faster. Speak up to women. Be honest, but not angry. Speak up to women. Be honest, but not angry. And don't tell women your problems. Don't tell women your problem. They can't handle it. It's not in them. Do not move into her apartment, house, town, state, and don't have sex with them out of wedlock. 1 Corinthians 7:2 says, each man should have sexual relationship with his own wife, and each woman with her own husband. Each woman with her own husband. These things were talked about when we were growing up. They were being discussed, and then they were being lived for the most part. You don't see them anymore. You don't hear about them anymore. You don't see them, so the men and women are growing up dumb. Get a trade. Don't let them tell you, oh, you need to go to college. No, you don't. You need a job. There's so much you can do if you had a trade, a job. As long as you can work with your hands, you'll have food on your table. And don't compare yourself to someone else thinking, oh, I need to make a whole lot of money right away. No, you don't. Get a trade guy. There's so many trade jobs out there that are where they're looking for men. Proverbs 22:29 says, do you see the man skillful in his work? Do you see the man skillful in his work? He will stand before kings. He will not stand before obscure men. Do you see the man skillful in his work? He will stand before kings. He will not stand before obscure men. Get out there and have a life, guys, and deal with the issues of life. You'll look back and you'll be grateful. You will not believe what you have dealt with and were able to overcome because you became the light of the world, salt of the earth. You were of love. And for God's sake, don't sit in the passenger seat while the woman is driving. Even if it's her car, just say, you know what, I'll drive. I would have to think really, really hard to think about when I was growing up, when I ever saw men sitting in the woman's seat and the woman was driving. I've seen women drive, but the men were not in the car. What the? Man, I see it all the time now. The woman is driving, and the man is sitting in the woman's seat, the passenger seat, and it seemed comfortable. And it's just weird. I want to yell beta from the car, my car. Don't sit in the passenger seat. Beta! Beta! Beta bell! While the woman is driving. Watch this from NBC.
Her actions were controlled, methodical, deliberate, intentional, and purposeful. This was not reckless driving. This was murder.
19-year-old Mackenzie Sharilla crying uncontrollably as the judge declared her guilty on multiple counts of murder in the deaths of her 20-year-old boyfriend Dominic Russo and his 19-year-old friend Davion Flanagan. She was convicted on all 12 charges she was facing, including those of felonious assault and aggravated vehicular homicide. The judge said Sharilla, who was 17 at the time of the crash, had morphed from a responsible driver with 2 passengers into, quote, literal hell on wheels down an obscure route that she had just visited a few days before, pushing the pedal to the floor, demanding an ultimate speed of 100 miles per hour.
The intent was obvious upon seeing that video that there was only one goal, and the computer demonstrated that there was no attempt to slow down or stop, that it was full speed into a building. And tragically, it cost 2 people their lives.
The prosecution says Sharilla crashed the car in July 2022 to end her toxic and tumultuous relationship with Russo, and that Flanagan was just backseat cargo.
Amazing. You drive, man. Men, it's okay. It's okay to be a man. Women need you to drive. They hate weak men. You see what happened? That's just one example. So those are the 7 rules of how to deal with a woman in the proper way. And they will work if you do them. And these rules were lived and taught when I was growing up. My generation, for the most part. Exceptions to the rule. The world is going to hell in a handbasket because the men are weak. We got to turn the world back over to normal. God in Christ, Christ over man, man over woman. Nothing else is going to work but that. Even if you are not married, men are over women in the right way.